400 people, including children, have been killed since November by Ethiopian security forces responding to protests in the country's largest region, Oromia. That's the verdict of a recent report by Human Rights Watch, which says the 35 million plus Oromo, Ethiopia's biggest ethnic group, have been politically, economically and culturally marginalized for decades, with thousands detained or disappeared. The Ethiopian government, though, says the protests have been hijacked by armed groups, including the Oromo Liberation Front, which it considers a terrorist organization. So what's the truth? Joining me to debate this in the arena are Getachew Reda, Ethiopia's Communication Affairs Minister, and Lencho Bati, an executive committee member of the Oromo Democratic Front and a lecturer in African Affairs. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me in the arena. Getachew Reda, your government has been accused of violently suppressing Oromo protests inside of Ethiopia. You're on record saying your security forces have acted in a very professional and responsible manner. Human Rights Watch say 400 people killed, others detained, disappeared. Surely that's not responsible behavior, that's criminal behavior, many would say.
You see, the saddest part of having to respond to such kinds of queries is that we are dealing with people who are killed. So to have to haggle with people in terms of what numbers are the exact figures, that's the most painful part of my job. Because even one person killed, especially when it comes to avoidable deaths, is one too many. Having said that, though, when you have Human Rights Watch, which issued the same figures back in November when the conflicts were, I would say, at the formative stage, still, I mean, I'm surprised that they haven't revised their numbers. They still stick to 400. But as we often say, Human Rights Watch is not interested in the reality on the ground, nor does it have any representative here on the ground. And more often than not, they just pluck their numbers out of thin air.
Lencho, the government say protests have spiraled out of control, imperil the future of the state, hijacked by armed groups. You're Oromo, you've been campaigning for Oromo rights. What's your response?
The government's brutal crackdown on Oromo, this is not the first time. This kind of report is not the first report, it's not the second report, it's not the third report. It is the 25th report. It has been going on for the last 25 years. The Oromo people have a legitimate cause. They have a legitimate grievances. So this has nothing to do with terrorism. This is a legitimate cause because the Oromo people want representation. So,
Lencho, you're now with the Oromo Democratic Front, which is a non-violent group, but I believe you were once also with the Oromo Liberation Front, which is a violent group, which openly advocates, practices violence against the state, which has proudly talked about killing collaborators, civilians. Can you see why the Ethiopian government, why any government, might want to crack down on such a group violently?
But, I mean, the Oromo Democratic Front believes in peaceful political struggle, and we also accept the Constitution, we want to be part of the process. You do,
but you accept that other groups, including your former group, which doesn't.
There are other peaceful political, Oromo political groups in the country also. For example, their leadership, Bakala Garba is in prison. You know,
what do you do about the violent groups?
Look,
these violent groups, the violence is, this is the excuse the government used to crack on the Oromos. And the Oromo Liberation Front itself was part of the government initially, part of the transitional government.
You're using terrorism as an excuse like many governments do, says Lencho.
No, we're not using terrorism as an excuse because evidence is about people being involved in terrorist acts are legion. I agree with him, the only option for this country, the only viable option for this country is for people to join the peaceful struggle. And I honestly,
Getachew, is there a space for peaceful struggle in Ethiopia today, given you have journalists in exile, newspapers shut down, no media freedom according to Reporters Without Borders? Ethiopia comes 142 out of 180 countries when it comes to media freedom. There is no space for peaceful protest, many would say.
Well, look, my friend, whatever the superlatives there, what we believe is there is a space. We have problems here and there. Like I said, there is a problem of tradition. There is a problem of culture. We have a government which is trying to change the tradition of a country that has been around for thousands of years, if you will. Now, we have problems here and there. I cannot vouch for every police officer which goes about doing some stupid stuff. What I can say is we have a political platform that makes sure people who are advancing peaceful political agendas would not have any problem whatsoever.
Okay, Lencho,
with all due respect, I disagree, Mr. Getachew. The Ethiopian parliament now 100% controlled by EPRDF, and there is no free press.